Hello everyone. We were discussing school organization and management in that unit 2 school as an organization, and we were discussing about 2.2 role of headmaster as an academician and administrator. So in our previous classes we have discussed role of headmaster as an academician, and we have started role of headmaster as an administrator. And in that, we have already discussed about the institutional planning, as we have discussed about the some of the roles of headmaster in administrative aspects such as preparation of institutional plan, providing materials, facilities, budgeting, financing, procuring of books and other equipments, providing special services, schedules, maintaining discipline, supervision, organization of staff meetings, and maintenance of different registers and records, all concerned with improving the total teaching learning process. So these all are the administrative aspects of the HM. Okay, so in that we have already discussed the institutional planning. So today we are going to discuss about mobilization of resources. Okay, so what do you mean by mobilization of resources? We all know resources, there are different types of resources: physical resources, human resources, material resources, finances. Okay, so here, how to mobilize the resources, how to move the resources from one place to another place, such as from community to school or school to community, that we are going to discuss here in the role of headmaster as an administrator and administrative aspects. So here, the head teacher, being the central figure in the educational setup, should try for the utilization of resources. Okay, he must try for the utilization of resources, and that too how, that is optimum utilization of resources. And the areas of specialization of different teacher should be utilized to have their maximum utilization. Okay, okay, so as we have already discussed, the teachers are multi-talented. Apart from the teaching, they can do so many roles and duties. So here, the areas of specialization of different teachers should be utilized to have their maximum utilization. So we have to utilize their potential, their knowledge, their creativity, their skills we must utilize for the betterment of the school and progress of the school. And the Education Commission rightly observed, although most of the responsibility for the support of education will be placed on government funds, a total centralization of all financial responsibility for education in the government will not be desirable. Okay, so attempts should therefore be made to raise contribution from local communities, voluntary organization in the local authority for the purpose. Okay, students, so here, though it is the responsibility of the government to provide all the necessary resources, funding, budget and finances to the institution, but sometimes the government does not meet all these requirements. So here we should not depend for totally on the government. For that reason, the attempt should therefore made to raise contribution from local communities, voluntary organizations and local authorities for the purpose. Okay, students, so here we cannot leave the educational institutions like that only whenever we are not receiving the proper funds or budgets. So for that reason, here we have to made some attempts so that we can raise contribution for our educational needs from the local communities and voluntary organizations. Okay, and also from some philanthropists if they come forward, and local authorities for the purpose. And mobilization of community resources, practical suggestions. So what are the practical suggestions are there in mobilizing the community resources? How to mobilize the community resources practically? So in each community you may find many skilled professionals, technicians, scientists, university teachers, etc. Okay, students, for example, if you are living in any society or community, you may find so many people in your community. Okay, from they are belonging from different occupations and different backgrounds, the professional background, the skillful backgrounds they have. For example, like in a community you may find a doctor, a teacher, an engineer, a professor, okay, a carpenter, a plumber, a farmer, so many things you may find in a community. So here they would be glad to participate in the school teaching and other programs. So while teaching the impurities of water, someone from the water works departments will be of immense help. Okay, students, for example, you are teaching about the impurities of water. Okay, like how we pure the water, how the people from the water department, how they pure the water and how they supply to the public. So whenever you are teaching such topic, you can call the person from the waterworks department. That is a very great help to the students. Okay, because this provides an extension education to the students where they can learn from that particular person, and he is the expertise in that field. He know very well how to pure the water, what are the different things we are using to pure the water. So since the community resources have not been utilized so far, it is very necessary to tap them now. So if you did not use the community resources so far, but now you have to tap them. Okay, start using the community resources. Okay, start using them optimally so that the schools and community both get benefited, and this would establish a rapport with the community which would ultimately help in the development and improvement of the school. Okay, so this establish a rapport between community and school because the resources are mobilizing from one place to another place. Okay, so there is a good relationship will be established, like such as sharing, communication, fellow feeling and understanding. Such type of abilities and attitudes will develop among the people between community and school. Ultimately they help in the development and improvement of the school. Okay, so like this, these are the some practical suggestions in mobilization of community resources. Mobilization of physical and material resources. Here the mobilization of physical and material resources in school implies the ability of teaching aids like tape recorder, the videotape, the film strips, the slides, the projector, the charts, the maps, the books in the library, the magazines, journals, bulletins and the like. Okay, so these things you can mobilize physical and material resources in school. These all teaching aids are available in the school, and they should be brought to the knowledge of all concerned and should be readily available for the enrichment of classroom instruction. So it is necessary to having these all teaching aids in the school, but how effectively or how efficiently you are using these physical and material resources, that plays a very important role. Okay, so, so in some institutions you can see the teaching aids are they are at the corner of the any storeroom or any other lab. Okay, these are not much utilized by the teachers for the betterment of the individuals or the students. So here you must use these resources. Only procurement of physical and material resources is not enough. You have to use them efficiently. You have to use them for the welfare of the students. Then only you can do justice to those resources, okay, as well as students. So whatever the teaching aids and the material physical and material resources you have procured in your school, that must be make available for the use of students and teachers. They must use these things in the teaching learning activities for the betterment of the students. Okay, so these they should be brought to the knowledge of the concerned all concerned and should be readily available. Okay, you should check whether they are working or not, whether they are properly functioning or not. They are readily available for the enrichment of classroom instructions. And mobilization of financial resources. After the mobilization of physical and material resources, now we are moving to the how to mobilize the financial resources. So it is at another dimension. Community should come forward and should raise school education fund for every school. Okay, students, so because of lack of budget, lack of funds and resources, we cannot stop educating the children. Okay, we have to try for the alternative sources. If the government is not giving funds on time, so we cannot stop like that only. We have to look for other resources and alternative solutions so that we can continue the education for the betterment of the students. So for that reason, what we are doing here, the community should come forward. The schools, the where the schools are residing in a particular community, that community should be conscious about these things, that whether the schools or institutions receiving the proper funds at a time or not. Okay, is there any insufficiency? Okay, is there any difficulties or problems facing by the school for imparting the education due to the financial resources? Okay, that has to we think about by the community, and it should come forward and should raise school educational fund for every school. And more specifically, local communities should be closely associated with all government and local body schools. Okay, so they must be associated. They must keep an eye, the even the school as well as the community, what type of teaching learning activities are going on in the school, whether all the students are getting benefited or not, whether the school is facing any problem. And even the school also should keep an eye on the community or the society, like how the social progress is going on, is there any a social injustice is going on in the society or community. Okay, how the people are living in a society. Okay, so how it affects on the children's life and their growth and development. These all things should be done by the mutual understanding of the school and community. So for that reason, the school and community should be closely associated with all government and local body schools, and a school fund should be established in every school to meet the whole or part of the non-teachers cost. Assistance for the local community should be fully harnessed for improving the physical facilities in the school. Okay, students, so here in mobilizing of financial resources, the community should come forward. If there is a lack of any infrastructure facilities such as the benches, tables, okay, anything they can do by themselves, that can be done by this community. They should come forward. They should check these things frequently, that whether all the physical material resources are properly available for the students or not, because these are the basic things for imparting the education, such as the classrooms, the physical furniture, okay, blackboards, okay, other things which are necessary for the students, like drinking water facility. Okay, so these things should be procured properly, so that the students can concentrate on their studies, and so that the teachers can implement their teaching learning activities accordingly. Next thing is preparation of budget. Okay, so here the school budget means showing the income and expenditure of the school, covering all items of income and all items of expenditure. Okay, so here the school budget shows the income and expenditure. Okay, like what are the sources of income and how they are expending. Those are the budget. Okay, the expenses of the school covering all items. Okay, whatever the items in the school, those all cover here in income and all in the of its expenditure. So here budget formulation, plan and non-plan. So here we divide the budget into plan and non-plan. So let us see what is this plan and non-plan, how we formulate the budget, okay, in various steps. So the process of budget is a major administrative task for the any educational institution. Okay, so during the planning we must think about the budget, its income and expenses. Okay, so it is a very important task in the administrative task for the any educational institution. All the educational institution must plan this formulation of budget, so that for the proper functioning of the institution. And budget formulation include the steps, namely estimation, preparation, implementation. Okay, so here estimation. The HM should prepare budget estimates keeping in view previous year income and expenditure under plan and non-plan and proposed expenditure and income. So whenever the headmaster should prepare the budget estimates, we must keep in view previous year income and expenditure, that what was the previous income sources and how was the expenditure. Okay, is there any deficit in those income and expenditure, how we have how effectively we have distributed those income and expenses, okay, for the proper functioning of the school. The HM should look after this previous year income and expenditure under plan and non-plan and proposed expenditure and income. So students, what is plan and non-plan budget here? Such as the plan budget is nothing but budget on the productive areas, whereas the non-plan budget is non-productive areas. What will be the non-productive areas? Such as the salaries and the schemes, loans, subsidies, these all comes under the non-plan budget. Okay, so here the plan budget is on productive areas, means we allocate this budget on the qualitative aspects. So here the plan expenditure is usually identified with a qualitative expansion as well as quantitative improvement, and the non-plan expenditure is the committed expenditure on existing system. Okay, like I told you, the non-plan is on non-productive things which is continuing from, such as the teachers salaries and of the staff and maintenance of the school. This all comes under non-plan, means these are not much productive, whereas the plan, okay, the plan expenditure is a qualitative expansion as well as qualitative improvement. The improvement, the development, this all comes under the plan expenditure. Okay, productive works. And whereas non-plan, the non-productive work such as the expenditure on the existing system, such as the salaries of staff and maintenance of school, etc. So then after estimation, the second step is preparation. So based on plan and non-plan estimates, budget is to be prepared. Okay, then budget preparation includes income and expenditure under recurring and non-recurring heads. Okay students, so what do you mean by recurring and non-recurring? So here recurring is which always repeats, okay, more frequently, whereas the non-recurring is it does not repeat as much as the recurring. Okay, like for example, here at the start of the school we construct the building and we provide the furniture and infrastructure facilities. This is non-recurring, means every year we don't do these things. Okay, if we do also very less or very often. Okay, if there is a need, then only we do. So recurring means which continuously occurs. Okay, like for example, we give salaries of the teachers every month. This comes under recurring. Non-recurring, construction of building, like once we construct the building, it will continues for the years together. So these are non-recurring. So like that, and under these heads we prepare the budget, that is recurring and non-recurring. So income side includes tuition fee, special fee, rents, sale of products of SUPW, articles, okay, donations, interest, etc. So these are the sources of income in the school. Like through tuition fee we get the income, through special fee we get the income, through rents, okay, some of the school buildings or some other things, if you have given rent such as for canteen and other things, okay, you will get rent from there. And sale of products of SUPW. What is SUPW? Socially useful productive work. Okay, so you can sell these work because the students had prepared different art and craft work in this socially useful productive work. They have prepared so many objects and articles and articrafts by using these skills of SUPW. So you can sell these things, okay, for the income generation, and you can use this amount for the betterment of the students. Again, donations also, okay, and interest, etc. These all are the sources of income in a school. Whereas expenditure side includes salaries of teaching and non-teaching. Okay, so what are the expenses in the school? The first one is the salaries of the teachers and non-teaching staff, and non-recurring expenditure such as purchase of furniture, equipment, and construction of additional classroom. Okay, see, these are the non-recurring because once you purchase the furniture, it will continue, or it will useful for the years together. Okay, after 5 to 10 years again you purchased. Okay, so these are non-recurring, means they do not repeat again and again, like how you give the salaries to the teachers every month. Like every month you do not purchase the furniture. So this furniture, equipment, okay, like equipment, lab equipment, laboratory equipment, okay, the books and all, the okay, and other things like the water purifier, the water filter, and other the health and physical education equipments. Okay, these all things are, once you purchase, you need not to purchase each and every year. Okay, they may be undergo some repairs and some small repairing will be there, but you need not to expend on these things each and every time. So these are called as non-recurring expenditure. And construction of additional classrooms. Okay, once you have constructed the school building, okay, and after 5 to 10 years again you require some new classes because of the increasing strength, you again construct some rooms, but every year you do not construct the rooms, buildings. Okay, so this is also comes under non-recurring expenditure. So like this we prepare the budget under recurring and non-recurring heads. Recurring, which continues each and every time, like every month, like salaries of teaching and non-teaching staff. And non-recurring is which do not repeat again and again. After some years of time we spend the budget on those things such as the building, furniture, equipment and all. So now implementation. After estimation, preparation, the third step is, that is implementation. So here the headmaster should plan the budget and place it before the management for approval in the case of private school. So in private schools everything look after by the school management itself, because they get the funds from the students, okay, and they have to mobilize there itself. So here in the case of private school, the headmaster should prepare the budget and present in front of the management, okay, in case of private school. And in the case of government and local body schools, concerned education officer, okay, and get their approval. The headmaster should concern the officer who is responsible for this approving of budget and all. He must meet him, he must provide this plan, formulation of budget in front of him for getting his approval. And once the budget is approved, and it should be implemented with meticulous care, okay, very particularly and systematically you must implement these things according to your plan, like where you want to spend this amount, okay, qualitatively, quantitatively. So once you get the approval, and it should be implemented with meticulous care, following proper accounting procedure. You must keep an accounting record, that where you have spent this money, for what cause, how much it does cost. Okay, everything you must maintain properly in a record, in the accounting, following by proper accounting procedure. Then appraisal. So an appraisal is of a budget is based on the following aspects: whether expenditure incurred is totally related to the identified objectives of teaching and learning. Okay, so here, so in the appraisal, they will check whether the expenditure incurred, means whatever the expenditure you did is totally related to the identified objectives, means whatever you have planned, like on these things, on that things I spend the money, we need budget for these things, like these are the things you have planned whenever you are formulating or planning the budget. So that here you in appraisal you check that whether incurred these expenditure incurred is totally related to the identified objectives of teaching and learning or not, and whether expenditure was incurred as per the planned activities are diverted to meet unplanned activities. So whatever the activities you have planned, that and so things I will expend, I will spend this amount. Okay, so whether you did like planned activities or you have diverted to meet unplanned activities, that will check in the appraisal. And whether expenditure was incurred on priority items on equitable ratio. Okay, so whether this expenditure was incurred on priority, like what is our priority, Like first we have to provide the basic infrastructure, library and laboratory resources to the students. This is our priority. Okay, there must be a proper classrooms, physical resources, infrastructure, benches, board, okay, demonstration tables. These are the basic things we need. So these all comes under the priority. So according to priority, where these expenditure incurred or not, that should be checked. And what are the problems implementing the budget? So we have prepared the budget, and by estimating, by preparing, by appraisal. Now we have to check what are the problems we are facing for implementing this. Okay, so that also here we checking in this appraisal. Then finally, the role of headmaster in the preparation of budget, precautions to be taken. What precautions should be taken by the headmaster whenever he is preparing a budget? So he should study all the circulars received from the management, education department, and keep himself up to date about plan and non-plan item of income and expenditure. Okay, so he must study all the circulars whatever he received from the management and education department also. Okay, what his the concern department of education or the government is saying, and keep himself up to date. Okay, he must be up to date about these all concerns of a plan and non-plan item of income and expenditure. And he should prepare budget in the beginning of the academic year. Okay students, because here the preparation should be done in the beginning of the academic year, because so that the academic year can function effectively throughout the year. So in the beginning of academic year he should prepare the budget with the cooperation of the staff, because it is a teamwork. Collaboratively we work in the effective functioning of organization. He must involve the members in this preparation of budget, such as the teachers, non-teaching staff, non-teaching staff, and other members, those who are associated with these things. Okay, so that everyone can give better suggestions regarding their field. And budget proposals, estimate received from each department should be discussed thoroughly in the staff meeting. Okay, so the proposals, the estimation received from department should be discussed thoroughly in the staff meeting, so that everybody can know about this preparation and estimation, and they can also give their valuable suggestions about this. And he should avoid wasteful expenditure by identifying priorities. Okay, so the wastage and stagnation should be checked here. Okay, they should avoid these things. Okay, otherwise what happens is that there will be misuse of the budget. Okay, and there will be priority less budgeting will occur. And so he should ensure that his office maintains account books like daily cash book, budget, stock registers meticulously, and data of income and expenditure on various heads must be readily available. So whatever income you are getting, whatever expenditure you are doing, that must be recorded properly for the future use. Whenever you want to inspect or examine how we are, what income we are getting, what expenditure we are doing, so for that reason if you maintain the records properly, it is very easy us to accounting and audit the budget at the time whenever we require. So he should ask additional funds with reasons. Okay, so if the headmaster requires the additional funds for various purposes, he must ask these additional funds with reasons. He has to provide the valid reason to the management or the government by providing for what purpose he need the additional funds. He should keep put these things in front of the government. And he should plan for annual auditing and accounting of accounts by inviting local funds auditors. Okay, in the locality there may be some auditors who do the auditing and accounting work properly. He called them and he asked them to do the school audit. Okay, and he should not prepare deficit budget. What do you mean by deficit budget? Here deficit is spending more than it collect. For example, if the principal has got the funds like 1 lakh rupees, but he has spends 1,10,000 rupees, so that is called deficit budget. Okay, spends more than it collects. Okay, so this should not be done. He should not prepare the deficit budget. and always plan for surplus budget in mobilizing the local resources. Okay, like something left over when requirements have been met. Okay, so always he has to plan for surplus budgets by mobilizing the local resources. So this is about the mobilizing of resources. The headmaster and other teaching staff should be conscious in mobilizing the resources. Okay, so especially here the role of headmaster is to procure the physical material resources for the school, and he should also procure some human resources like such as the expertise, those who are living in the community. They can call them for the betterment of the students to the school, for giving their lectures and for their valuable suggestions. Okay, and he also plan the budget, plan, non-plan, estimation, preparation, implementation very effectively and meticulously for the proper functioning of the school. So these are the one of the administrative aspects of the HM, or one of the role of headmaster in administrative aspects. Okay students, hope you understood the concept of role of headmaster in administrative aspects, that is mobilization of resources. Thank you.